Hi, this is Tim Mosso and Jack Forster at Chopard at Watches and Wonders 2025. We have an incredible selection of L.U.C Chopard grade watches on the table. We're pulling from the top shelf. This starts now. Jack, why don't we talk about the sports watches first? Let's talk about what it means to build an Alpine Eagle in full platinum. So you've got the XP CS, almost 300 grams of platinum, ice blue dial.
I mean, the amazing thing about it is, unless you know ahead of time that it's platinum, it reads as a stainless steel sports watch. It's kind of what you expect from Alpine Eagle, but once you pick it up, the mass of all of that platinum makes it a very, very, very different experience. It is, but at the same time, despite the fact that it's quite a massive watch, it wears really, really well on the wrist. Very, very supple bracelet. As you were saying before we started shooting, no play at all in the links, and it feels on the wrist like one of the most luxurious watches I've ever had on.
Yeah, this is by far the most robust bracelet I've ever felt. Supple, link to link, the countersink at the intermediate links into the primaries means there's almost no lateral play. Yeah. We've got a micro order automatic on the back, 65-hour reserve, double certification, Geneva Seal and chronometer, so they put their money where the mouth is. A really impressive piece and easily the most stealthy, wealthy you can wear out on the road, as this is a handsome steel-like tone on the wrist, but it's got that incredible pull that only platinum can achieve.
Yeah, if you like platinum, you're going to love this watch.
That is a fact, and frankly, if you like your watches as light as a toy at 72 grams, now we're talking about the Cadence 8HF version of the Alpine Eagle. So this is going to be the SL, the Alpine Eagle SL41, now in ceramized titanium. This is a 250-piece limited edition. It uses the ridiculous, at this point, I think this is basically twice the beat rate of a standard movement. It's like 57,600, something crazy like that.
8 hertz.
8 beats per second. Actually 16, 8 hertz, 16 beats per second. Let me know what you think about this aesthetically, because this is a much more aggressive look.
Yeah, it's an Alpine Eagle, but I can't think of a watch that is, despite the fact that they share obvious design cues, I can't think of a watch more diametrically opposed to the experience of wearing this one. This is an extremely technical feeling, an extremely technical looking watch. The 8 hertz beat rate should give you excellent chronometry on the wrist. It should be very, very precise across positions. And the ceramized titanium case, extremely tough material. This is a watch that's going to run really, really well and look really good for many, many years.
Yeah, if you're that guy who hates scratches and swirls and scuffs, consider a ceramized metal watch, because you've got the scratch resistance of ceramic, but it can't fracture straight through the way ceramic can. It's really the best of both worlds, and it's very, very light. Also, orange accents and bonus points for that. It is a chronometer as well. Now let's jump straight to the L.U.C Quattro Spirit. Now this is a 25th anniversary of the Quattro model. We've got this incredible gratte-masse style scratch geometric dial. Each of these handcrafted at Chopard, so no two of them are going to be exactly alike. They're only going to make 8 like this, but it's got the 8-day Quattro movement with 2 stacked barrels times 2. 4 total barrels. Now you know why they call it the Quattro. And this is 25 years since the 2000 model year Quattro, which was the first. Jack, who's this watch for? Because this is not for your typical dress watch fan.
I think that this watch is for somebody who wants something really, really elegant and also very kind of pure and clean in design. So the dial is actually straw marquetry, and the way that you make this kind of dial is you literally take straw, snip it to the exact shape that you want, dye it to the correct color, and then place it on the dial. And the geometry of the dial, it's a bunch of interlocking hexagons. The geometry is incredibly precise, and I can't imagine how the person who made this actually managed to achieve that, because it is dead straight in every direction.
And it's jump hour, which is always a lot of fun. It's also a little bit uncommon in that you can see that it's equally exciting on both sides. That's a rare feat for any high-end luxury watch. Deeply impressive stuff. You got the straw marquetry with that scratched-like aesthetic. So not only do you have the different geometrical forms, but they are all different tones and shades of green. We're going to jump into a model now that is the L.U.C Chopard L.U.C Mark IV. We've got 2 watches, each 39 millimeters, and then we've got 2 different takes on blue. This one maybe a little bit darker, a little bit more intense, a little bit more metallic cobalt, and then this one more like an ice blue, a bit similar to what we saw on the platinum Alpine Eagle. But this is a really cool watch because, of course, you've got a very wearable size, and then on the reverse, you've got that lovely Quattro movement. So you've got 9 days of power reserve, a super cool feature, and frankly a difficult one to achieve in a watch that's under 40 millimeters in diameter.
Yeah. This is the kind of watch that the auction houses would have called a fine gentleman's watch. in bygone years, they might still call it a fine gentleman's watch, and it is eminently wearable. The movement is absolutely beautifully finished. It's in terms of quality, it's up there with anything that you could get from any of the other high-end blue chip watchmakers. I mean, maybe even better. And I remember when the L.U.C movements first started to come out in 1996, we thought they were the greatest thing since sliced bread.
And if you do want that original 96, from the very beginning, the 196 lends its bones to what's actually in this Alpine Eagle, so it's still with us in one form. I'm just going to throw this out there. The movement is Geneva Seal. Of course, you've seen a lot of certifications with Chopard over the year. Fairmine Gold, Qualité Fleurier, COSC Chronometer, and Geneva Seal. This one is made in their Geneva atelier, so it can earn the Geneva Seal. Also worth mentioning, the quick release being used on these straps now, it mounts the quick release mechanism in the strap, so you can still use any strap, OEM or aftermarket, that fits the lug spacing. So a really, really cool look. And although you probably can't see it from the camera, we're going to do a close-up. You'll be able to see the lovely granular texture of the dial, and it's got a subtly hidden power reserve indicator for the 8-day reserve on, or pardon me, the 9-day reserve on the back. And now we have a watch that can speak for itself. This is the 2017 GPHG Aiguille d'Or winner. This is a full skeleton version of the full strike. It's a 20-piece limited edition, and like I said, this is a watch that is probably best left to its own devices, pun intended. If you want to sing its praises, it does that better than I ever could. Now, the way they get that kind of sound through a precious metal case is a unique combination of the melding of sapphire and the gongs, so the conducted sound is superb. 42.5 millimeters, it's a 20-piece limited edition, a really cool watch, double certification, chronometer, and Geneva Seal. And you can see the movement is properly sized to fit the case, which is always the hallmark of a true manufacturer product.
I mean, it's a fantastic watch, both visually and in terms of the sound produced. This may be, I think it's one of the top 3 most beautiful sounding minute repeaters I've ever heard. And a lot of the time when you have a modern minute repeater made with this kind of technology, they can be very loud, but there's not a whole lot of depth to the sound. And this one's really, really rich, clear, and beautiful. It's just, well, folks will be able to hear it. But it's an extraordinary, extraordinary watch. Oh, and there's an interesting feature as well in terms of getting rid of the dead space between sets of chimes.
Yeah, what he means by that is that if there are no quarters to chime, it will jump straight from, for example, 1 o'clock to the 7 minutes. So it'll chime 1 and then 7, rather than waiting 10 to 15 seconds for the rack and the snail to pass over the dead space where the quarters would have been. So in other words, it doesn't have phantom chimes. And it's a very cool watch on many levels because you do get that super high-end finish where you can see it on the dial side. Financially, not for the faint of heart, but then in general, Aiguille d'Or winners never are. You get what you pay for. Jack, one of these watches, you're going to walk out of here with it on your wrist. What do you steal? I
mean, it's tough because there's a lot to love about each one of these watches, and they all have different reasons for loving them. I mean, the 8 Hertz is an incredible technical piece. The minute repeater is an incredible achievement. For me, it's a toss-up between the minute repeater because I love minute repeaters. I'm not likely to ever own one, but this is a peerlessly beautiful minute repeater on every level in terms of execution. And I mean, I'd love to find out what it's like to live with a quarter kilo of platinum on my wrist every day. How about you, Tim?
I'm a grumpy old man. I want this ceramized titanium watch because it can get wet, it can get wild, it's not going to scratch, it's got a very cool movement, it's all about the tech appeal, and I like straps. So for me, it's going to be this guy right here. Although, I don't know, in an ideal world, you'd have both.
Yeah.
Not that we don't love the dress watches, it's just I'm not cool enough to pull off that much colored gold. So this is Jack Forster and Tim Mosso signing off from Chopard at Watches and Wonders 2020.